Hello friends, welcome to the session on PhD coursework. In this session, we'll be discussing Introduction to Computers. In this session, we will see what we mean by computer, what is the block diagram of computer, what are the different parts of computer system. And this session is particularly prepared for the students of PhD coursework. And therefore, here I will explore how computer can be used in the different phases of the research work. Friends, as you know that you are viewing this session on my YouTube channel, and you can subscribe to the channel so that you can watch many other videos on the various topics of electronics and computer science. So let us start the session with the question, what we mean by a computer. Computer, you can say, is a digital electronic device or digital electronic machine. And this machine will be operated under the control of the instructions. So we need to feed some instructions to the computer system. And these instructions are stored in the memory of computer system. So it has a memory where we can store the instruction and the input data. And then it will process this input data according to the instructions. And then it will produce some useful output. And this useful output can be called as a information. And this information can also be stored so that whenever we want to use it, then we can make the use of it. So computer is basically a digital electronic machine. And this digital electronic machine will accept the data at the input, will process the data, and will produce the useful information at the output. So any digital computer will carry out, you can say, 5 functions. The first function that is being performed is to read the input data or to take the input data. Then this input data can be stored, or the instructions can be read, and it can be stored in the memory. This computer has a memory, and where it can store the data and instructions. And whenever it is required, then it can make the use of this data and instructions. Computer can process the data. So we need to write appropriate program so that the computer can process the data. And when the data is processed, then we obtain the useful information at the output. So computer will generate the output. So it is necessary that every computer system must generate certain output. And the fifth function of the computer system is that it will control all above 4 steps. So on every step, it has a control. And whenever we require, we can make the modifications in any one of these steps. So computers are very widely used. Nowadays, when we are making the teaching online, you will find that we are making the use of computers for teaching students online. When I'm making this presentation to you, I am also making the use of computer. When you go to the reservation system, you will find that the reservation systems makes use of computer systems. So wherever you go, if you go to the LIC office, if you go to the bank, everywhere, you will find that the computers are used. In research also, we need to use them at the different phases of our PhD work or research work. A computer, as shown in this diagram, this can be called as a block diagram of the computer system. It has input, it has CPU, central processing unit, and it has output. In the CPU, we have control unit, arithmetic logic unit, and memory unit. So you can say a computer will consist of a hardware, and a software. So these are the two terms that are frequently used whenever we talk of any computer system. So computer hardware, you can say, is a collection of physical elements that actually constitute the computer. Say, for example, when you think of this box, which is called a CPU or monitor or keyboard or mouse, then these are all the physical elements, and this is to be called as hardware. While software, you can say, is an organized collection of computer data and instructions. So whenever you collect some data or whenever you write some program, then that can be called as a software for a computer system. So let us understand, first of all, the different elements in the computer hardware. Computer hardware, as I told you, is a physical part of the computer or component of the computer. Say, for example, when we think of a monitor, or when we think of a mouse, or when we think of a keyboard, or the data storage devices, or sound cards, or hard disk drive, or graphics cards. So all these can be called as the hardware of the computer system. So inside this computer box, you will find that there is a motherboard, there is a memory chip. So all this is the hardware. So you can say that the physical objects that can be touched by us, all such physical objects can be called as a computer hardware. So the printer is also a computer hardware. Out of these certain devices are being called as the input devices, and certain devices are being called as the output devices. So input devices are those devices which can translate the data from humans to the computer. So most of the things that human can understand is of different form, and the things that computer can understand is different form. For example, human can understand natural languages. Computers do not understand natural language. So whenever we feed the data by using natural language, then that data need to be converted into appropriate form, and through some device we do it. So such devices are being called as the input devices that will translate the data from forms that human understand to one that computer can work with. So most common input devices are keyboard and the mouse. So every computer system will have keyboard and mouse. So these are the input devices. But apart from that, you will find that we can use other input devices such as numeric keypad, even remote control, joystick that is being used in game applications. Touch screen is also input device, scanner. So whenever you want to scan an image, and when you want to store this image, then you can make the use of the scanner, or a graphic tablet, even microphone. So whenever you want to convert your sound into electrical signal. So for example, I am recording this session. So my sound is being converted into electrical signal by using microphones. Or digital camera will capture a picture or image, and that can be stored into the computer system. So webcam, light pen, all these are the devices that can be called as the input devices. Output device, you can say, is a specific device that can be used to communicate the results of the data processing that can be carried by the computer system. So whenever computer processes the data, then it produces certain output. And through output device, we human beings can understand what is the output of a computer system. So output devices are those devices which are connected to the computer system on which we can observe the result or the processing of the input information. So there are different types of output devices, such as CRT monitor or your TFT monitor, or sometimes we take the output in the form of prints, so such as printer used. Printers of variety of types are there: dot matrix printer, laser printer, inkjet printer. Or many times when you hear the sound, then you can hear the sound by making the use of the speaker, or when we make the use of the projectors or plotters. So all these are the output devices. So output devices will convert the electronically generated information into the human readable form. As we have seen in the block diagram, every computer has a CPU or central processing unit. So this is, you can say, is like a brain of a computer. So this is responsible for all the functions and processes that are being carried out within a computer system. So computer reading the computer regarding the computer power, computing power, you can say that the CPU is the most important element of the computer system. So computer system power is being determined by the processing speed of the CPU or central processing unit. So normally a microprocessor is used as a central processing unit of a computer system. And if its speed is high, then we can say that it has a high computing power, that it requires a minimum amount of time to process the instructions. CPU will consist of arithmetic and logic unit, and this arithmetic and logic unit will execute all the arithmetic and logical instructions. So whatever the instructions that you fed to the computer system, these are broadly classified into two categories. The one is being called as arithmetic instruction, and the other is being called as the logical instruction. So all such instructions can be processed by a section of a CPU, and this section of the CPU is being called as the arithmetic and logic unit, or ALU. There is a control unit, and as its name indicates, it will control or will coordinate all the activities of the computer. So from where to read the data, from where to send the data, which memory to make an access, which input device or output device make an access. All such decisions will be controlled by the control unit of the computer system. Then we have a memory. Computer memory can be classified into two categories: primary memory, secondary memory. In primary memory, we have RAM, that is random access memory. We have ROM, that is read-only memory. And in secondary memory, we can have sequential memory or random access memory. So sequential memory means the data is being stored sequentially, one after the other. And in random access memory, in random secondary memory, you can store the data at the different parts of the memory. So your compact disk, your hard disk, or optical devices, or floppy disk, all these are the random access type of memory. And magnetic tape or record, those you can call as the sequential form of the secondary memory. So primary memory can be either RAM or ROM. RAM, that is, will stand for random access memory, is a memory where the computer system stores the data on the temporary basis. So whenever you store something into the RAM, then that will remain there as long as the power supply to the system is on. When you switch off your computer system, then the content in the RAM will be vanished. So you can say that RAM is a volatile memory. So it will not retain its content for an indefinite interval of time. But read-only memory, you can say, is a permanent form of the storage, where once you store some information or program, then that will remain there even if you switch off the power supply of the computer system. So as shown in this window, one can easily observe that the RAM chips are like this, the ROM chips are like this. So we can store some basic information or basic instruction of the computer system into the ROM. And then these are the secondary forms of memory: hard disk drive, pen drive, optical disk, or floppy disk. All these are the different forms of secondary memory. So secondary memory will store the data and the programs. And once you store the data and programs on the secondary memory, they will remain there permanently. So you can say that they are non-volatile type of memory. So it will retain them even if the power supply of the computer system is switched off. So hard disk, optical disk, flash disk, pen drives, all these are the secondary type of memory. So you know that whenever you want to carry some information from one computer system to another computer system, then you can make the use of such secondary memory. Now, there is one more term that is being associated with the computer, and that is being called as a software. So software can be of two types: the system software and application software. and the software will provide the system software, you can say, it will provide the basic non-task specific function of the computer system. And the application software is the software or is a program that is being built up for accomplishing of the specific task. So system software, you can say, is a basic part of any computer system. And whenever we want to make the use of computer system, then we require a system software. So for example, any operating system can be a system software. And whenever you think of any application software, such as Microsoft Office is an application software where Microsoft Office is being written for a specific task. So system software will consist of the operating system and some fundamental utilities, such as disk formatter or file manager. These are all part of the system softwares. And whenever you think of any application software, then you can say it is either a single program or it can be even a collection of programs. So whenever it is a collection of program, then that is being called as a software package. And that will work closely together to accomplish a specific task. So as I said, Microsoft Office is an application software that can be used to perform the specific Office functions. So such as MS Word is a part of the Microsoft Office, or Excel is a part of Microsoft Office, or PowerPoint is also a part of the Microsoft Office. Now, whenever we think of any computer memory, then you will find that the unit that is being used for the measurement of the computer memory is called as a bit. So one bit means either a zero, a single zero, or one. That is being called as a bit. Every digital computer will store the data or instruction in the form of bits. A group of 4 bit is called as a nibble. It is also called as the half byte. 8 bits is called as a byte, or 1 kilobyte, that will stand for 2 raised to 10 bytes or 1024 bytes, or 1K into 1K, that is 1024 kilobytes is called as 1 megabyte. 1024 megabyte is called as the gigabyte. Terabyte is just nothing but 1024 into gigabyte. Petabyte is just nothing but 1K into 1 terabyte. Hexabyte is just nothing but 1K into petabyte. And zettabyte is just nothing but 1K into hexabyte. So these are the units that is being used for the measurement of the memory. And you will find that nowadays we can have the hard disk. We can make the use of the hard disk that can be gigabyte. We can have the memory also, which is in the form of the gigabytes. And it's possible that in coming future, as our data is day by day increasing, the size of the data is day by day increasing, and therefore in future we'll be making the use of terabyte, petabyte, hexabyte, and zettabyte also for storing of data. Computer can be used in the research work. You know that in research work there are different phases. Say for example, initially we need to identify the problem. Once you identify the problem, then you need to perform the literature review so that you can fix your problem appropriately. Then you can set your research questions, you can set your objectives, and you can set your hypothesis. Then you have to choose the proper research design, and then you have to decide on the sample design. Then you need to collect the data, then you need to process and analyze the data, and finally you need to write the report. So these are the phases that normally to be carried out in any kind of research work. You will find that you can make the use of computer in all these phases. For example, if you want to identify your problem, then you can Google on your computer system and you can see what type of the problem are there. Problem can be identified through your day-to-day experiences also. Literature review can be performed online, and for this you can make the use of your computer system. In early days, one has to go to the library to perform the literature review, but nowadays it is possible that if you have appropriate login and passwords, then you can make an access to any journal across the world. You can decide your research question, you can decide your objectives by taking the help of your computer system. Research design even can be decided or modified by making the use of the computer system. Then you need to decide on the sample design, how much sample you need to collect, what can be the design of the sample. Then you can collect the data online. Nowadays it is possible that you can prepare your Google form, or you can prepare your form for collection of the data, and you can collect the data. Once you collect the data, then there are different statistical tools available through which you can analyze the data. And once you analyze the data, then you can form a fruitful conclusion from the data. So all these phases can be done by making the use of computer systems. Whenever you want to prepare any article, or whenever you want to prepare any paper on your research work, then you can make the use of computer system. Whenever you want to present your research to other people, there also you can make the use of your computer system. So whether it is a writing of a synopsis, or a writing of a final synopsis, or whether it is a pre-PhD viva, at every stage, you will find that you need to make the use of computer system, and therefore it is very essential for you to understand what computer system is and what are the different abilities. So thank you, friends, for viewing the session. Hopefully you have understood what we mean by a computer system and how it can be used in the different phases of research. Thank you all.